Hello people, I'm back again and welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I have something interesting, and this is a video of a lady replying to a comment that says, fact, black people calling white people out of their name and claiming cultural appropriation is racism. In her video, she helps make the white race understand what racism really is and differentiates it from what they think it really is. She breaks it down to how racism affects a race and not just an individual. So let's check out her video and hear what she has to say.
Fact, black people calling white people out if their name, I think you meant of their name, and claiming cultural appropriation is racism. It's too early. This is what you think racism is. Someone calling someone a name. We're actually talking about systemic racism that affects us in healthcare, education, financial opportunities, housing, police brutality, police profiling, and you're talking about an individual calling someone a name. That does not affect the entire white race. I hope this sinks in on this one. What you were talking about is one individual event. That is prejudice. That is bias. That is not racism. Racism will affect an entire group as a whole just for being that race. Someone calling one person a slur does not affect the entire race. I could call you every name in the book, but you would still be able to go to the bank and get a home loan if your credit was good. You would still be able to get paid equally as your white counterparts. You would still be able to walk through life and not have to deal with the same things that I have to deal with. You would still be able to drive wherever you wanted in this country and not have to worry about a sundown town. Do you see the difference? This is what we're saying. You don't understand what racism is. That's an individual calling someone a name. That is prejudice. That is bias. That's not racism. You can still go to the hospital and get whatever pain management you want. You could have a bad experience with a police officer. You could probably cuss them out, throw paper at them, and nothing will happen to you. I got pulled over the other day and the cop had his gun, hand on his gun. So it's not the same. I hope this makes more sense to you now. Just read the room. Out of 5 or 6 posts that I have responded to you in the comments, there are multitudes of black people and white people telling you you don't understand what you're saying, but yet you keep claiming this. And you still haven't given one example of how it affects the entire white race. Hundreds of millions of people. This is an individual event. And cultural appropriation, you don't even understand what that is. Cultural appropriation, for example, with black hairstyles like box braids or cornrows and stuff like that, means that you profit or take an idea without respecting the history of it. Let me put my glasses on. Did I miss something again? What's this say? Claiming cultural appropriation is racism. So if I tell you that cornrows and locks are historical meaning to black people, and someone takes it and makes light of it or turns it into a costume, that does not make me racist in saying, hey, that's offensive. For example, indigenous people of America, they don't like to be called Indians, indigenous people or Native Americans in America, when they wear all their regalia and their headdresses, those have cultural meanings, very spiritual cultural meanings. when a person not indigenous takes a feathered headdress and wears it for Halloween as a costume, that is cultural appropriation and disrespectful, because you're making light of something that is spiritual to them. For Black people in America, braids originated in Africa. Braids could tell you your rank and status in society, if you were married or not. There was symbolism there, what tribe you were from. When the Atlantic slave trade began, they really had deep meaning within our culture, because they knew they could be kidnapped at any time. Women would braid seeds for food and plants in their hair. They would braid in coins, money, gold to trade, to be able to get out of a situation. They would braid in food when they were planning on running away from a plantation. They would also braid in maps, so they would be able to find their way out of where they were from what they knew of the geography. Those have cultural, historical meaning for us. When a white woman gets braids and it's just something cute and trendy to do, it is cultural appropriation if you do not respect or acknowledge the origin of it. For example, when the Kardashian clan claimed that Kim invented boxer braids or renamed them boxer braids, those weren't boxer braids. Those were cornrows. Those have historical meaning for us. It's disrespectful. That doesn't make me a racist for calling someone out and saying, hey, that's disrespectful or offensive. Like, what? What? Locks. It's hilarious that people always want to bring up Vikings. If they actually knew the history of Vikings and how braids and locks existed way before Vikings and where they got it from, the Vikings were explorers and they went to like Africa and saw them and they copied them. Braids and locks were worn by warriors of tribes in Africa for thousands upon thousands of years. They have a cultural significance. Dreadlocks, which I don't call mine locks. I have micro locks. I have locks. There's nothing I dread about my body. Dreadlocks coming from the Rasta. That was a whole protest against colonialism and being colonized by white people. It's hilarious when I see white people wear it, but they don't even know the history of them. There is a difference between freeform dreadlocks and other locks. The Dutch braid, the French braid, if you look up the history on that too, that also came from Africa. Those colonizers went to South Africa and they saw the braid styles of certain African tribes and they took it back. So there's that. How can you equate someone calling you a name or claiming cultural appropriation, saying, please don't do this, it's offensive? You're comparing that to Jim Crow laws, segregation, redlining, racial covenants. You're comparing it to whites only water fountains. You're comparing it to the KKK harassing people, neo-Yazis out protesting and wanting white supremacy to reign again. Are you really comparing the two? Someone called you a name compared to home loan discrimination, appraisal discrimination, racial profiling, being profiled in stores, getting paid less than other people even though being more qualified, having hair discrimination, the fact that they had to sign a law in to stop discrimination in natural hair for the hair that grows out of our head, and you're comparing the two. This doesn't seem, it don't seem a little, not even in the same universe to you. Whew. I wish you would say if you're a male or woman, because I think that you're probably just trolling under a female account or saying that you're a woman. But if you are a woman, I would love to know where you grew up and how many Black people do you actually know and have been inside your house as a guest that you broke bread with and spent time with. Because if this is what you think.
Now, this called for different opinions from different people, and I would like to share some of them with you. The first comment is fire, and it goes like, white people be like, so we came here to kill you and take your land, but let's hold hands and stop being racist. This sounds really funny, but the accuracy in it though. Let's take a look at another comment. This one says, let's stop explaining the obvious to people who pretend not to know the difference between name calling and systemic oppression. They know but enjoy taunting us. Willfully ignorance will never be the shield they think it is. They always try to make it about them. Okay, so those are some of the comments or what different people had to say, but this video brings out the difference between these two scenarios in the sense that what they are calling racism is talking about or is affecting an individual, rather calling a name, and that does not in any way affect the entire white race. But when we talk about systemic racism, we are looking at policies and practices that exist throughout a whole society or organization, and this results in a continued unfair advantage to some people and unfair or harmful treatment of others based on race. We see this evil manifests itself in our individual thoughts and also in the workings of society itself. You know, in as much as the United States has made progress in trying to eliminate some of the institution legalized discrimination of years past, such as slavery, still these advances are incomplete. The data on social and economic welfare shows disparities between many persons of color and their white counterparts. When we talk about the impact that racism has on our communities, we can see how badly this is damaging a lot of people. I can give an example of America, which remains a deeply divided place in many ways. Many people of color living in low-income areas experience low or no upward economic mobility due to limited access to quality schools, safe neighborhoods, reliable transportation, or higher paying jobs. As a result, dialogue and encounter with others with diverse backgrounds, experiences, and opinions are limited or non-existent. I feel the only way racism can end is if we contend with the policies and institutional barriers that perpetuate and preserve the inequality, economic and social, that we still see all around us. This is all I had for you in today's video. I hope you always enjoy our videos. Don't forget to leave your comment on today's topic, and thank you for always watching. See you in my next video.